What if you could literally hack your own biology? It sounds like science fiction, right? Well, that's the core promise of biohacking. It's this fascinating, wild, and yeah, sometimes pretty controversial movement that's all about using science and tech to push the limits of what a human body can do. It covers everything from simple diet tweaks to some truly radical experiments. And that's exactly where we're going to start, at the deep end. So let me introduce you to someone. This is tech tycoon Bryan Johnson, and he is way, way out there on the most extreme edge of this biohacking world. He's kind of become the poster child for the modern quest for immortality, a guy who is willing to try pretty much anything to turn back his biological clock. And as you can see from this quote, he gets it. He knows just how strange his whole mission looks to the rest of us. To give you a sense of just how committed he is, get this. Johnson spends $2 million a year on his anti-aging protocol, which he calls Project Blueprint. And we're not talking about a fancy gym membership and some organic kale here. No, no. This is a full-on scientific operation involving a team of doctors, transfusing his own son's blood and undergoing full plasma exchanges. It's without a doubt the most intense personal health experiment on the entire planet. But here's the kicker. What happens when a key part of your $2 million plan to live forever doesn't just fail, but might actually make you age faster? Yeah, you heard that right. Johnson recently came clean about a very, very expensive mistake. Okay, so the culprit here is a drug called rapamycin. Now, it seemed super promising. It helped extend the lifespan of mice, so Johnson took it for 5 years. But then, this bombshell study from Yale drops. It suggests that for humans, rapamycin might do the exact opposite of what he wanted. We're talking about the potential to actually speed up aging, according to 16 different biological markers. Ouch. And you know, it wasn't just the study. His own body was screaming at him. He was getting mouth ulcers, wounds that wouldn't heal, his cholesterol was all over the place, and that increased resting heart rate, that's a huge red flag. So he did something really important. He stopped. And even more importantly, he told everyone about it. He put his failure out there for the world to see so other people could learn from his $2 million mistake. Johnson's story, with the huge risks, the massive budget, and the public transparency, it's the perfect, if kind of crazy, example of the bigger movement he's part of. So let's zoom out for a second. What exactly is biohacking? Think of it like this. An engineer looks at a machine and thinks, how can I make this better, faster, more efficient? Well, a biohacker looks at the human body and asks the exact same question. It's a do-it-yourself movement that's all about taking science out of the ivory tower and putting it into the hands of regular people. Why just accept our biological limits when we could try to upgrade them? Now, biohacking isn't just one thing. It's a huge spectrum. On one end, you have stuff you might even be doing yourself, like changing your diet, tracking your sleep, or maybe taking an ice bath. But on the other extreme end, you've got the grinders. These are the folks pushing into some pretty wild territory. We're talking DIY gene editing, surgically implanting magnets and chips into their bodies, and the kind of radical self-experimentation we just saw with Bryan Johnson. So why? What drives a person to start tinkering with their own DNA in their garage? Or to try and build a cheaper version of a life-saving drug? Well, a huge part of the motivation comes from one place: frustration. A deep-seated frustration with the slow, expensive, and often inaccessible world of traditional medicine. I mean, just look at these numbers. It can take 12 years for a new drug to get approved by the FDA. 12. And if you or someone you love has a rare disease, well, a staggering 94% of them have 0 FDA-approved treatments. When you're faced with that kind of timeline or that kind of dead end, you can start to understand why people feel like they have to take matters into their own hands. And it's not all just about personal enhancement. A fantastic example of this is the Open Insulin Project. This is a group of DIY biologists working together to create a public open-source recipe for producing insulin. Their goal is to completely bypass the corporate system that makes it so expensive. This is biohacking as a direct grassroots solution to a real-world healthcare crisis. So this brings us to the real tension at the heart of the movement. On one side, you have data-backed science and genuine problem-solving. But on the other, you have dangerous public stunts that really blur the line between being a pioneer and just being reckless. Let's take a look at an example of each. First up, the science. Cold plunges. You've seen them everywhere, right? Everyone from athletes to celebrities is jumping into ice baths. But beyond all the hype, is there anything real happening in the body? Well, the answer is yes. And it all comes down to a special kind of fat. So, when your body gets cold, it activates something called brown adipose tissue, or BAT. Now, most of our fat, the normal white stuff, is for storing energy. But brown fat's job is totally different. Its whole purpose is to burn energy to generate heat. You can think of it like your body's own internal furnace, firing up to keep you warm. And this isn't just a theory, the data really backs it up. A major analysis that combined the results from 10 different controlled trials found that cold exposure made people burn, on average, over 188 extra kilocalories a day. That's a real, measurable physiological response. That's science. Okay, so that's the science. Now, let's talk about the stunts. And on the far, far other end of the spectrum, we've got biohacker Josiah Zayner. To protest how slow genetic medicine is, he used the famous CRISPR technology to edit his own DNA to try and enhance his muscles, and then he injected himself with it. Live, on social media. You just can't make this stuff up. Now, Zayner says his goal was to make a point, but what he really did was open a Pandora's box of reckless behavior. He's even said he regrets it now, because his stunt inspired others to do even more dangerous things, like live streaming themselves injecting untested HIV treatments. This is biohacking with no safety net, no oversight, no expertise, and the consequences could be absolutely disastrous. And this is the core conflict, the real battle for the future of DIY biology. It's a clash between the biohacking community's hunger for fast innovation and the scientific establishment's demand for safety and regulation. It's speed versus safety. And you know what? Both sides have some really valid points. The biohackers say, let's make science accessible to everyone, let's speed things up, let's get around all this red tape. And they warn that if you regulate them too much, they'll just go underground, where it's even more dangerous. But the scientific community fires back, saying public safety has to come first, period. They argue that expertise is crucial to avoid disasters because when you're tinkering with the fabric of life, the consequences are completely unpredictable. So where does that leave us? Are these two worlds just going to be at war forever? Or is there a path forward? Is there some way to harness all that passion and innovation from the DIY world, but, do it safely and responsibly? Can the garage and the lab ever find a way to work together? Well, some people think there is. And it starts with something simple, just talking to each other instead of yelling past each other. It also means supporting these amazing collaborative spaces, community labs that give citizen scientists access to tools, but also provide training and safety oversight. And ultimately, it means we might need a whole new rulebook, a shared code of ethics that can balance that drive for innovation with a real sense of responsibility. This is the vision that really inspires a lot of people in this movement. The futurist Freeman Dyson had this incredible idea. He imagined that biotechnology would follow the same path as computers. They started as these massive, complicated machines in elite labs, and now they're in every single person's pocket. He dreamed of a future where biotech is so common and so user-friendly that kids could literally play with biotech games. And that really leaves us with the big central question. From Bryan Johnson's multi-million-dollar quest for youth to citizen scientists brewing their own insulin, biohacking is forcing all of us to rethink who gets to do science and where discovery actually happens. So the real question for our future is this: where is the next world-changing breakthrough going to come from? A professional lab or somebody's garage?